The history of opera is full of brilliant efforts by standout teams of composers and writers. In 2017, BBC News magazine asked 172 opera singers to vote for the best operas ever written. The Marriage of Figaro came in at number 1 out of the 20 operas featured, with the magazine describing the work as being one of the supreme masterpieces of operatic comedy whose rich sense of humanity shines out of Mozart's miraculous score. Opera San Jose is launching its 2022-23 season and will be joining forces with Mosaic America to bring Indian classical dance to Mozart's masterpiece, The Marriage of Figaro, in September here in Bay Area. Welcome to Dil Ki Awaaz with Namrata and Yamini. Hope listeners, you are tuning in every Saturday morning at 9:30 a.m. on Dil Ki Awaaz on Bolly92.3 FM. How are you doing, Namrata?
I'm good, Yamini. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Yeah, we'll be learning a lot today about opera and, San Jose's opera's upcoming production. So would you like to introduce one of the guests?
Yes, I would like to start with introducing Antara Bhardwaj. Antara began her study of Kathak at the age of 9 with the legendary Kathak maestro Pandit Chitresh Das. In 2016, she established her own dance company and school, Antara Asthai Dance. In 2019, Antara was honored as a Mosaic Silicon Valley Fellow for commitment to artistic excellence and strengthening community through multicultural arts. Antara is the choreographer and cultural consultant for Mozart's The Marriage of Figaro opera at the Opera San Jose. She is working on this magnum opus where she's co-directing South Asian specific scenes with the director and working with immensely talented dancers, singers, actors, and choreographers. Welcome to Dil Ki Awaaz, Antara.
Thank you so much, Namrata and Yamini. It's so wonderful to be back in this different production to share.
Yes.
Absolutely. Welcome, Antara. And I'll introduce Maya Kherani. Please excuse my pronunciation. I had to Google a few things, So Maya Kherani is an Indian-American soprano. She returns to Opera San Jose to star as Susanna in The Marriage of Figaro. Kherani made her company debut with Opera San Jose as a guest artist during the 2017 and 18 season, appearing as Despina in Mozart's Così fan tutte and Yvette in Puccini's Le Rondine. She graduated with honors in vocal performance from the San Francisco Conservatory of Music, and prior to her singing career, graduated from Princeton University with a BSc in Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering. So welcome, Maya, to our show.
Thank you so much for having us. Pleasure to be here.
Welcome.
Yeah, and we also have Deepa Johnny. She's from Muscat, Oman, mezzo-soprano. She has been gaining recognition in major competitions and festivals on the operatic scene. She makes a company debut with Opera San Jose this season, appearing as Cherubino in Mozart's, The Marriage of Figaro. And in 2020, Johnny was chosen as a winner in the Western Canada district of the Metropolitan Opera National Council auditions. She is one of the newest member of the LA Opera Domingo Colbernstein's Young Artist Program for the 2022-23 season. So welcome, Deepa, to our show.
Thank you very much. So glad to be here.
Yes,
Absolutely.
welcome,
Yeah, wonderful to talk to, such immensely talented young women. So my question to, I guess anybody can answer is that, Opera San Jose, like Yamini said, is launching its season with Marriage of Figaro. It's a unique, in a very unique fashion. Instead of taking place in the 17th century Italy, the entire story will take place in colonial India. So, and culminating in a sparkling Indian wedding in like Bollywood style. So tell us about this intriguing fusion between opera and Bollywood. For me, I personally, thought that wouldn't never happen. So tell us about that.
I didn't think it would happen either. So it's really, it's been such a joy to be part of this process. And I know there are a lot of South Asians in the cast, which is also very unusual. And I know that, I can't speak for everybody, but sometimes in rehearsal, we kind of look around and it's surreal. It really is. And it's so inspiring to be surrounded by so much diversity in the opera rehearsal room. And this piece, The Marriage of Figaro, it's set in Spain, 18th century. And it's all about the common folk, the bourgeoisie, sort of pushing back against the aristocracy. And it was very radical for its time, based on the play by Beaumarchais. And it was banned. The play was banned. It was considered to be very revolutionary. And this setting in colonial India actually works really well because we see those class conflicts even more depth and color, and it's really fun to get to sing Susanna in this production because she kind of runs the show and has a lot of power and agency as a character. And even though she's the maid to the countess. And so in this setting, it's really, really fun to be able to bring out her personality and her spunk and character and how she sort of asserts her power over the aristocracy. So yeah, it works really well.
It does, and the story kind of, is very similar to a lot of Bollywood stories, I'll say, with the class divide and all. So it should be interesting, I'll say. Yeah.
Yeah. So, in the arts, diversity is on everyone's lips, but difficult to implement. Antara, are you finding more diversity on the stages where you perform?
Well, it's interesting because I've heard Deepa and Maya talk about just how surprised they are with the diversity when they're rehearsing in opera. For me, it's very different because I actually come from such a traditional art form background, and I work in very traditional spaces, predominantly South Asian spaces. So for me, it's different. I'm not surprised by seeing so many brown people on stage. It's more like I'm surprised by seeing a well-funded organization that is running things at the level that Opera San José runs at. I mean, I'm used to doing productions where I'm the star, I'm the music conductor, I'm the choreographer, I'm, the director. I'm also running around across town to pick up, oh, somebody has a nice Ganesh, can I borrow it to put on stage? I'm doing everything. And I'm lucky if we get into the theater the day before. Often we just get into the theater 4 hours before. So to be in a production where we move into the theater like 7 days before, it's unheard of, where they have assigned breaks and they meticulously force you to take that break. They don't even allow me to work when it's a break. I'm like, oh, okay, like, this is so unusual for me. And I think that's my biggest takeaway, like, wow, what you can create when you actually have the proper infrastructure and funding for your arts.
Absolutely. Enjoy the luxury while it lasts.
I know. Tell me about it. I'm getting spoiled after this. But, adding to what Maya was saying about like the universality of this story, I'd actually love for Deepa to share a little bit about her character, Carabino, because I think it brings up a lot of themes about boys dressing up as girls dressing up as boys. So yeah.
Absolutely. I was about to ask Deepa that, because I read somewhere, that the operatic singing is very different, especially when you get, especially for the characters, the voices are associated with different types of roles. So like Antara said, you're playing a male character. So tell us more about the singing part of it.
Yeah, so I play the role of Carabino, which is a 14-year-old young boy. And because of the tradition of opera, which comes from castrati singers, which means that young men went through the process of castration to maintain their soprano voice, and because women weren't allowed on stage. But when that process is banned, all these roles that were written for that specific voice type had to be switched over for females to play. And so typically pants roles are sung by mezzo-soprano voices, which is what I have, which is a slightly lower or darker color of voice. And it's so much fun. I really am shocked at how easily the 14-year-old boy hat is to play. And I'm definitely taking inspiration from a lot of Bollywood movies that I've watched, and like just observing different like male colleagues of mine. And yeah, it's just been really fun.
And you
There's
both are just beautiful singers. I've been watching your videos and following you on Facebook. Oh my God. It's just,
Thank
I
you.
get goosebumps when I hear you guys. It's so good.
thank you.
Because we grew up with Bollywood, right? Listening
Yeah.
to classical music, and now when I hear something like this from a South Asian background, the women from South Asian background, it's just amazing. It's just you reach such a level. It's just so it's very respectful. I must say
Yeah.
that.
Thank
Wow.
you.
Wow.
I just wanted to add to what Deepa said. There's a scene in this opera where Carabino is dressed up as a girl. So we've got a woman playing a teenage boy who we then dress up as a girl. So we've got all this gender bending happening, which is really, really fun and quite progressive. And in this, usually I've sung this role before, and we dress up Carabino in a frock and put a bonnet and do all that. But in this production, I think it's going to be a real treat for the audience because we're bringing in a lot of South Asian elements, and I'm calling upon my sari draping skills, and it's going to be, I think, really refreshing, and it's just incredible how well it works with the music and works with the text, and we've got a Bollywood flair to it too, so it'll be fun to see.
Yeah, so like Antara, you're the cultural consultant, right, for this. So how is that working out? Because
Oh my gosh, it is so much fun. I never realized that this was my dream job, and I just landed it because, I have a background in directing. I used to work in film prior to my full-time dance career. So it brings in those elements, my love for direction, my love for live theater performances. I've directed my own live stage shows. And then, of course, dance and choreography. So not only am I choreographing, I'm also dancing in the production. So I'm like wearing 3 hats, which is a bit crazy at times. But it's so interesting how this story just translates so well to India. Like, it helps that the whole thing is centered around a wedding, marriage, because that's like,
That's Bollywood.
that's exactly, it's like a big fat Italian Indian wedding. Because it's an old world story, there's, such similarities, like Maya was mentioning, like the different classes. You see classism in India, and then just this translation of bringing it over during the British Raj is just so fantastic because you see, the count and the countess that are played by non-South Asian characters, the white people, and then you see the brown people, and you see that class difference. So yeah, it's just translated so well. And I will give a little spoiler or something to look forward to, but we're like, for the wedding, we have a full-on barat coming in.
Wow.
And it's like amazing that the Mozart music translates over to a barat. I would have
That
never
would be
ever in my life
crazy.
imagined that.
I know.
But it's
That would
really,
be
really a
something.
wonderful highlight moment of the story, where you see all of our characters just really just bring such joy and energy to the stage. And I don't think the opera world will have ever seen anything like this before. And I think the South Asian audience, I really, really hope a lot of people come in, because I think it's such a great entry into the world of opera for those who aren't familiar with it, which I can definitely say the majority of us South Asians aren't. Because, on one hand, it's going to be something we're so familiar with, from the faces we see, to the costumes, to all the mannerism. Then this is where all my role as the cultural consultant comes in, like bringing in that Indianness, and like in every single tiny thing. And I've seen Maya and Deepa bring in such awesome little flares, like chappal se kisi ko sir pe maar liya, that kind of thing. And so we bring in all that, so it's really familiar, but then at the same time, it transports you to such a different place, which is the magic of opera. And I've had the opportunity to experience this in the last, definitely in being in the rehearsal spaces, but even before that, as I was educating myself more on opera, it really is. I can see why it has not only survived, but thrived over these hundreds of years.
Yeah.
I just want to also quickly add that, as Antara mentioned, it is a perfect first opera, this piece. And for those of you who might be concerned that you don't understand Italian, there are going to be subtitles, super titles that are projected on top of the stage for the entire thing. So don't worry about not being able to understand the words.
I think it's about connection, even if you don't understand the language. Like,
Yes.
music
Yes.
Transcends all borders and
Yes.
boundaries.
Oh,
So
but
Maya,
in
I was
Figaro, you want to know what's going on because it's like this comedy of errors, and
yeah,
it's
it
like,
is a
So many
comedy though.
plot
Yeah.
lines.
yeah.
Yes. Maya, I was reading one of your articles and you mentioned that from the time you were a student, you felt the isolation that comes with being a visible minority working in early music, a genre where performers, administrators, boards, and audiences are arguably among the least diverse in classical music. So tell us your experience of growing up learning Western classical music.
Yeah, I think there aren't a lot of spaces that offer visibility to minorities, especially within classical music. And I do sing a lot of early music, which
Yeah.
is, music 18th century and before, that are traditionally white spaces and Eurocentric spaces. And I think there's been a real renaissance right now. I think we're living it. We're making it. Those of us, singers of color, are really pushing for representation on stage and off stage. I think that's so important for directors and conductors and musicians in the orchestra pit to represent the diversity that this country has. That we should be celebrating. And yeah, I mean, I have felt sometimes like an outsider, and I think I've come into a new, renewed sense of purpose with my artistry right now because I feel like I can be an ambassador and bring visibility to this art form to the South Asian community, which, is not as familiar with classical music, and then also my culture and my background to the world of Western classical music. And I started a Facebook group called South Asians in Western Classical Music, and we thought, we'd get like maybe 10, 20 people, our friends in, but it's over 400 people all over the world,
That's
and it's
how
growing. It's growing, and it's really great to have started and be a part of that community and be there to support each other.
That's
Yeah,
how
but
I
you
met Maya, through the
Yeah.
Facebook group.
Oh, really?
Wonderful, and kudos to Deepa and Maya for being path breakers, I'll say. And in the end, because the time is running out, all I'll say is, where can people buy the tickets, and where is it at, and what can they expect from this? Anyway, we've already said that, but just the last parting words. Yeah.
So you can get tickets on Opera San Jose's website, operasj.com. Our opening night is September 10th, and we have 6 shows between September 10th and September 25th. The shows are in San Jose's historic, beautiful California Theater in downtown. In terms of what you can expect, aside from the incredible grandeur and artistry and just musicality.
Music production, if you could just say a few things about, because it is about music, and who's the music and the conductor. And
Yes, Maya, do you want to speak about that?
Sure. The conductor is Viswa Subbaraman, who has conducted all over the world, really. Our director is Brad Dalton, who's done many productions for Opera San Jose and was actually, when I did Così fan tutte at Opera San Jose, was the director for that show as well. And it's actually operasj.org.
Oh,
so no worries, that you can get your tickets, and tickets are selling pretty fast. So, make sure you get your good seats. The theater is beautiful. There's not a bad seat in the house. Great acoustic, and you'll be able to see everything, it's one of my favorite places to sing.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure
Very
it's
nice.
beautiful. Yeah.
Very nice.
And I have to add something that I learned, and it's so ignorant, but I don't know. I figure if I didn't know it, maybe other people didn't know it, but I did not know that there is not a single mic in the entire opera, whether it's the singers, whether it's the musicians, like there's not a single mic. And that to me is unfathomable that somebody can project. Of course, we know the opera houses have great acoustics, but still, I mean, and especially like, it's a 3-hour long show. So to be able to continue to be able to have that kind of energy and presence for 3 hours, it's amazing watching these ladies perform.
Wow.
It must be magical, I'll say. So to our audience, bhai jaiye, ye dekhiye, or I'm sure because it's a mix of Karan Johar and opera. So these women are fabulous. Yamini's already said that they sing beautifully. Do go get the tickets quickly because they're selling out fast. And thank you so much for coming on Dil Ki Awaaz and Bolly92.3 FM. Wish you the best from both of us, and we'll definitely try to be there.
Yeah, we look forward to seeing you guys there on the stage. So excited.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Take
Thank you
care.
so much.